Hey guys, so like I said, I started reading a book that I had picked up when I studied in Paris that Kandinsky wrote about color theory that I really loved, and it's going to take me a while to get through because it's in French and it's part of my creative challenge to brush up on my French skills. But what hit me as soon as I started reading the intro and the first chapter is the phrase that he had about that I get a lot from students is, how do I learn to paint with a certain technique? And the sentence that really stood out for me was a sentence where he said, if we just go and copy old masters, Greek, Roman, Renaissance, what have you, our copies are like dead children. They have no soul in them. Because every work of art, if you're just copying things or if you're just looking at a certain piece and walking away from it, that means that you did not understand its soul or it did not have a soul to begin with. So the artist that came to mind to me when I first thought of this was Mark Rothko, and he's an artist that a lot of people don't really understand because it's abstract and it's tough. And I first came across him when I was studying in Paris, and it was actually, now that I think of it, very similar to what life is today. I was sort of having my own schedule, walking around, roaming the streets, and I came across his retrospective. And I was walking through, I've never heard of him before, had no idea who he was. And as I was walking through and I was seeing that he really did not have the technique when he was doing people, he was mostly self-taught. But as I was progressing through the show, I was noticing that it was very, very emotional. And he was very specific about the way that people should look at his works. He said that everybody should be exactly 18 inches away from a painting and he made them a specific size, and when you stand in front of his paintings at exactly 18 inches, and a lot of times in the museums that display his work, they give you the marker where you need to stand. What happens is it's the size of you and you really enter the painting. As I was progressing, I just started crying, and he committed suicide. And the last couple of rooms that I was walking through, I just couldn't hold it because it was so, so powerful. Because what happened when I was standing exactly 18 inches away and really entering each painting, and you also have to stand in front of them for at least a minute to really be able to enter them. What you start seeing is that every one of these pieces has at least 3 or 4 different layers of paint. And some of those layers are transparent, some of those layers are more opaque, and one builds off of another. And then he's not just using brushes, he's using his hands, and you can see the borders of each of these layers really spread out with some of his fingerprints, and it really feels like all of him is in that painting, and you're there experiencing that painting, and you're there really going through the process, because each painting has a life of its own and has gone through tons of turbulations and inspiration and fights in terms of how it should proceed. And that's what you really get to see in Mark Rothko's works when you're right in front of them. Not gonna happen when you look at a poster, not gonna happen when you look at them virtually because they just look like squares. So when museums do reopen again, please go and make yourself look at a Mark Rothko painting in real life. Thanks, hope that helped.